Welcome back to our channel where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. We provide you with the exciting news Buckingham in Trembles after Prince George revealed a shocking betrayal by a trusted nanny. The royal household was astonished when 12-year-old Prince George found out that a lot of ancient royal jewels had been stolen. The little prince secretly watched his mother, the Princess of Wales, and gave her evidence that led to the recovery of the expensive items and a palace reckoning. The criminal, a trustworthy former nanny, was found out. After a lot of secrecy, Marina Terence, a nanny who took care of Prince George when he was little and was recently asked to come back to assist the family, was sacked and sentenced to prison. An internal investigation discovered that a palace security officer was part of a plot that targeted the institution's trusted inner circle. Catherine, Princess of Wales, gave a rare and honest address in which she acknowledged the family's pain and the breach's terrible psychological consequences. This was a huge shock, of course, and William and I have been doing everything we can to deal with it privately for our young family, the statement stated. It demonstrated how hurt the Prince and Princess of Wales were after trusting Ms. Terence. People close to the royal household say they are very disappointed and quite proud of the little prince. Because of his strange sense of duty, he pushed for a complete redesign of the security procedures and showed us that even the safest royal homes can be broken into. The event broke a child's innocence and made a future king deal with betrayal and responsibility sooner than he had planned, even though the gems were discovered. A secret choice. In the late autumn afternoon, light the stunning stained glass windows of Kensington Palace make intriguing patterns on the polished floors. Radiance couldn't warm up a conference room that was well secured and frequently used for governmental business. The Royal Council issued a swift formal statement that was louder than any ceremonial order. A few weeks later, Marina Terence, who was formally recognized for her commitment and kindness, was called a traitor. The Princess of Wales invited her to come back to assist the family in getting ready for Prince William's succession rites, which were the ceremonial ceremonies that made him Prince of Wales. Kate trusted her to help George, who was in his early teens, get through this hard time. Ms. Terence's greed had become unmanageable. The Royal Council made a short statement to calm fears and show who was in charge. Marina Terence was sacked for good, lost her royal privileges, and was ordered to do community service on a distant farm in western England for a long time. The cooperating security officer got a harsher punishment for breaking his sworn duty in a big way. They were fired for gross misconduct and a serious breach of trust. But the marble walls of the palace couldn't conceal a secret from the ground. Whispers slid through the state chef's rooms, the guard chambers, the aides' quarters, and the servants' passageways. Everyone knew this was a big deal. It was a big security breach that included valuable diamonds and hurt people's trust in the system that was supposed to safeguard the monarchy's most important symbols. Catherine's silence was the most powerful during the trial. The light from a crystal chandelier lit up her beautiful face, which was now damaged by exhaustion and sadness. She was tired, but she was determined. She said that Marina would be a steady anchor in the middle of royal upheaval. Breaking a mother's faith in her home was both a personal and professional disaster. She looked over to Prince George in the corner. George was only 12 years old, yet he possessed a calmness that was above his years. He stood up straight in a black suit with his hands behind his back like a future heir. No crying or shaking. His mother had deep green eyes that observed as if they were taking in every detail of this serious occasion. George was the only one who spoke the truth about the affair. He was the main witness in a stressful 2-week internal inquiry. He provided undeniable proof in the form of secretly recorded recordings and well-written notes that made a complicated multi-million-pound security system concede that it had failed spectacularly. Kate knew that being honest was expensive. George figured out after 2 weeks that someone he trusted, who had sung him lullabies and tied his shoes, could completely deceive him. This news was a lot for him to handle as a young person. He learned that the palace was not just a heist, but also that it was weak, which changed how he saw the golden world. George went over to his mother once the meeting was over, and the council members had departed with sad looks. No words needed. Without asking, Kate could see the delicate combination of pain duty and being an adult in his eyes. They had an unspoken bond that came from blood and an act of extraordinary bravery that had saved the family's honor. Catherine gently caressed her son's shoulder and felt the surprising strength beneath his costly clothing. She said, "You did the right thing," her voice breaking. The brave and right thing. The palace's forced hush that night made the air seem like it was holding its breath. Traitors were executed, valuables were recovered, and security was restored with no mercy. There was a whisper through the old stone walls. What had a 12-year-old kid witnessed that was so shocking that it shook the royal household and taught them the first toughest lesson about the real cost of the crown? First signs. The prince's unchanging stare. 2 weeks before Kensington Palace had its usual blend of royal grandeur and modern monarchy craziness, the Prince and Princess of Wales had to be ready for the events that would lead to their succession, which left them with little time for their kids. Kate made a decision that was both nostalgic and trusting in the middle of all this. People were thrilled to see Marina Terence, who had taken care of Prince George. Marina was kind and friendly. Kate had always liked how serene and unflappable she was in her late 50s, as well as her charming, gentle smile. George, a preteen who could take care of himself and didn't often show his emotions, initially found solace in how well she knew him. The first several days passed by quickly, like a brook cleaning its path. Marina had to relearn how to do things around the house, and George loved the memories. Prince George's keen sense of touch and awareness disrupted the peace. Being second in line to the throne made him pay attention to even the tiniest things, like a guard's stance, a stranger in a throng, or a breach of etiquette. It was a talent that let people survive when privacy was important, and safety was the most important thing. George saw a small but steady gap between Marina and the woman in front of him. Her first change was to become distracted. Even though she was known for being neat and paying attention, she didn't do little tasks every day. George recalled that his mom forgot to put away his books for his morning lessons, or fell asleep while he was playing her mind clearly elsewhere. He felt like a thin, invisible veil had been drawn between him and his nanny, making them seem further apart. He tried to ignore these thoughts, blaming her age or the fact that it was difficult to go back to a high-stakes job after years. But the signs were too clear. It was hard for Marina to stay up late. George, who didn't sleep well, often heard her low, sneaky footsteps in the halls when the castle should have been peaceful. His parents encouraged his passion, which made him feel better about it. These were not steps for someone who was stressed out or drank tea late at night. They were meticulous, sly, and planned. At 11:00 p.m., George left his room, went to get a sip of water, and saw something that reinforced his suspicions. Marina's shadow went fast toward the palace's eastern wing in the corridor's security lights' dull glow. The little black fabric bag she was holding tightly surprised him. It was a simple bag that was supposed to disguise what was inside. George pressed himself into the thick shelter of a stone column, his heart thumping. The East Wing wasn't a place to live or work at night. The Royal Museum contained a lot of valuable and historical treasures that were secured by a complicated security system that included lasers, pressure plates, and motion sensors. Only official supervised visits allowed George, the future king, to enter the museum. He observed Marina carefully look back one more time, inspecting the empty corridor before turning a corner and vanishing. George waited 5 long minutes, his mind racing to be sure she was really gone before leaving his hiding place. He looked at the empty space where she had been feeling both scared and curious. He couldn't sleep in his room. As he lay on his back, the beautiful ceiling of the bedroom loomed over him. George thought of Kensington Palace as more than simply a place to live. It was a symbol of order, integrity, and honesty. Marina's lie, which came from a lady his mother trusted, was the first crack in that wall that seemed to be unbreakable. He was curious about what was in the black bag. Why was she going to the museum wing just now? George's attention went beyond what a youngster would be skeptical of. It was as heavy as a young heir defending his money. He sensed a dark secret in the palace's shadows, and years of careful watching told him it was hazardous. The investigation cleverness of the prince. After observing Marina Terrence's covert trip to the museum wing, Prince George's curiosity turned into a goal. He learned the weight of evidence when he was 12. His father always told him that an heir couldn't act on impulse or hearsay. There has to be evidence for each accusation. George plotted his next move with such care and secrecy that any intelligence officer would be impressed. He picked a little action camera that he generally wore on his helmet as he rode about the castle grounds. Its compact size and ability to work in low light made it perfect for his secret mission. The following day, he quietly looked for the best place. The gem exhibition corridor was high stakes and not often used after curfew. It included dark corners and old furniture that might be utilized to hide. George used black double-sided tape to secure the camera to the inner rim of the ceramic planter, which was behind a big old potted fern. He carefully set the camera so that it could see Marina's main corridor, which included a side entry to the museum that is seldom used. He knew the quality would be poor, but the dim wall sconces were bright enough for him to film. George was stressed out the first night. He acted like he was sleeping, but he listened for every murmur in the palace's quiet. At 11:30 p.m., the same soft footsteps came again. George held his breath and listened carefully. This time Marina moved more slowly and cautiously, as if she could sense something had changed in the atmosphere, or she was becoming more nervous. George was pleased when he got up the next morning. He took the camera into the bathroom to look at it before the morning team got there. After putting the memory card in his tablet, he looked at the screen. At 11:47 p.m. The video shows how awful things were. Marina still had the same little black purse. She walked beyond the hallway. She stopped at a solid wood side door, which is one of the museum wing's less used entrances for curators and restoration experts. George was scared by what she did next. Marina didn't utilize a key card or code. Instead, she took out a key that seemed antique and different from any palace key he had ever seen. Her cool fingers slowly slid it inside the lock. The camera picked up the soft metallic click as the lock turned. Marina Terrence came in via the entrance and then vanished. A few minutes later, she came back, closed the door with the same key, put it away, and hurried back to her room. George was fascinated by the illicit key image. A babysitter shouldn't have a key to a museum wing, much less a fake one. This was no longer about not being able to sleep or forgetting things. This was a planned trespass. That morning, George inquired. He spoke to Marina like a kid over breakfast. "Marina, I heard strange noises in the East Corridor last night. It sounds like someone went inside the museum wing. Was anything going on?" Marina flinched, and her grasp on the spoon shook a little. Her smile was tight and too comfortable as she got better rapidly. "You must have dreamt George. It might be simply the internal security staff. Before significant succession ceremonies, they occasionally check late at night to make sure everything is secure." Her explanation was too quick and smooth. It didn't match what George had seen. Security guards went in pairs, each with an electronic keycard and a radio that made a slight crackling sound. They didn't use old keys or move like cats. George was sure that someone was lying to him. The lie made him more determined than the transgression. He went from being curious to feeling like he had to protect his family and the castle. George made his plan stronger the following night. He utilized his smartphone instead of the hidden action camera to get a better look. He wanted to know what was going on beyond the door or what Marina was carrying. He did it. His phone footage put all doubts to rest. After unlocking the door, Marina came in again. This time when she came out, the black bag was full. George quickly saw her put something inside the shiny bag, which caught the feeble light in the corridor, even if the image was dim and blurry. It stands out from other personal goods because of its shiny look and big size. It had to be a beautiful diamond behind glass that was stronger than normal. George shut off his phone, his heart devastated. Now it was evident what was genuine. Marina Terrence, the nanny who took care of him as a youngster, was stealing from his family. He felt a burning surge of betrayal, but then he felt a cold focus take its place. Prince George knew that his proof was only one piece of a broader, more dangerous puzzle. He had to tell his mom. Revelation and raid. The following night, Prince George's tension was almost too much to handle. He was aware that his secret mission will conclude tonight. He noticed Marina Terrence moving swiftly from a safe distance. Her black cloth bag seemed larger as she slipped down the corridor toward the east wing, or she tried harder to conceal it. George thought that her robberies had become bolder, maybe because she knew that the palace's flux was narrowing the window of opportunity. George acted right away, not the next morning as he usually does. His heart raced back to his room, not because he was scared, but because the occurrence was so serious. He had to act fast, since a valuable part of his family's and country's history was being removed. He hurried to his mother's private study where the Princess of Wales was working late on a lot of ceremonial things. When he walked in without knocking, Kate could tell it wasn't a child's game since he was so serious and sad. Kate laid down her pen and stared at her eldest son with worry. George gave his testimony like a security briefing without pausing or shaking. He spoke about Marina's initial diversion, her late-night footsteps, and the strange key, and then he showed the damning video from his action camera and phone that displayed Marina breaking the law and the strange, shining object. Kate listened in shocked silence as her face swiftly went from surprise to doubt to the cold, hard resolve of a mother protecting her family and the crown. She harmed herself badly by trusting Marina Terrence. Her son's testimony was thorough and without question. Kate issued an order right away. She used a secure connection to contact the head of palace security and the royal treasurer. A group of elite guards in plain clothes gathered in a room near the eastern wing in 15 minutes. Kate showed the proof and told George to quickly check the HD inside security footage of the museum wing. The crisp, harsh views of the high-resolution cameras proved what George stated. Marina snuck in every night with her black luggage and did the same thing. A close-up view from inside the exhibit hall showed her expertly using a small tool to break open a display case. The camera recorded her placing an old brooch in her bag, closing it, and departing. The royal treasurer, who was pale and worried, took a first look at the stones from a distance after thinking about the time periods and Marina's actions. The results were terrible. Some important historical and financial items were messed with. The smaller, more costly stones and the old diamond and sapphire brooch that George mistakenly grabbed were missing. Digital clarity showed the truth. The palace was robbed from the inside. The person who did it was one of the family's closest friends. Kate told Marina Terrence to check all of her private rooms without any problems. The head of security and the treasurer were in charge of the covert search so that the person who did it wouldn't be found. The room Marina was in seemed tiny and tidy. It was a room for a devoted servant until they investigated the bed. She hid her misdeeds behind the simple mattress. Everyone stopped moving when the mattress was lifted. The museum wing's missing items were carefully arranged in little bags and wrapped in black velvet. Diamonds, emeralds, and gold glittered in the torchlight, making the ancient bed seem even worse. Greed and betrayal were out in the open. George and his mother watched quietly from the doorway of the room. He didn't have a smug, "I told you so" look on his face. He just felt bad. He lost a childhood buddy and lost faith in the people who were taking care of him. Kate swung around and held her kid tightly. She recognized that George's acts were gutsy and honest. This was an heir safeguarding the crown's dignity and legacy, not telling on them. Before Marina Terrence could go back to her room, she was quietly apprehended. The stolen items were found, but the palace's reputation and trust were hurt much more. The story went on even after justice had been done. The Royal Council thought of a horrible possibility: was Marina a pawn in a wider scheme? The crime was too perfect and daring. A deeper plot and council decision. Marina Terrence was arrested and interrogated royally. She confronted the serious-looking security chief and a Royal Council member. She begged pardon with a worn, anxious expression and a frenzied torrent of words. Due to desperation, Marina uttered a lie. It began by coincidence, she said. She accidentally uncovered a museum wing key while cleaning the royal treasurer's external office. She stated she borrowed a few little items due to personal obligations. She seemed to succumb to temptation without intending to damage anybody. Her additional key story was immediately and fiercely disproven. The royal treasurer, who was already in danger for neglecting things, quickly examined the key's secure vault. The official spare key's wax seal was intact. Prince George's DVD showed Marina's bogus key was a professional creation. The council immediately suspected a plot rather than a heist. Who handed Marina the additional key? Few high-ranking officials saw the original. Pressure to interrogate increased. Marina's story unraveled with the fake key. She collapsed, and her cries filled the calm room. She acknowledged teamwork. Second, more surprising news emerged. She sought help from an internal security officer who understood patrol schedules and sensor-blind areas and could reach crucial sites. This accomplice, a youthful and trustworthy night guard, granted Marina a backup access card to enter off-limits areas without alarms. More importantly, he had the master key for a few hours, long enough to copy it. Marina sent gifts of gratitude, small but valuable gems she stole from other people's homes, to thank him for his support. The idea became disturbingly clever. Marina used the bogus key to overcome physical impediments, while the security officer employed technology. The two-person crew exploited palace defenses, technical and human vulnerabilities. Finding a conspirator rattled royal security. A stranger who had acquired the royal family's confidence vowed and paid to guard them, but deceived them. Broken regimental honor. The Princess of Wales was furious and devastated when she learned of this. She started this terrible series of events because she thought she could have Marina back. She knew this crime threatened her children's safety and the royal family's image. Prince George, Kate's son, noticed. He witnessed the odd sights alone. His generosity and bravery prevented a worse disaster. Marina may have stolen and sold more valuable things or state secrets on the illicit market if unchecked. The end was close. Everything was collected, confessions recorded, and the accomplice located. Everyone watched the Royal Council because it may solve the situation and deliver justice. In the exclusive hearing chamber with dark wood paneling and stern royal images, the Princess of Wales narrated the complete tale. In a quiet voice, she delivered clinical observations, not charges. She exhibited Prince George's blurry but clear footage, which Palace HD cameras corroborated. She discussed Marina Terrence's confession and her accomplice's heartbreaking testimony. Finally, she showed the stolen gems to prove her treason. After hours of confidential debate, the Royal Council made their decision. Officials stressed restoring order and royal dignity. Marina Terrence was fired permanently and sentenced to community work on a distant farm. This ended her royal career and allowed society to retaliate privately. Second, the security officer who aided was barred from guarding the royal family or government and sentenced to 5 years of community service as a warning. Third, the royal treasurer was scolded. Even though he wasn't married, his management and sealing mistakes enabled betrayal. Finally, and most importantly, the Royal Council complimented Prince George. George was lauded by the home for uncovering a theft and for showing deep integrity, boldness, and a strong sense of duty in standing up to injustice, particularly from someone he trusted. People believed this 12-year-old boy's acts best demonstrated an heir's character. After the dust cleared, Kate saw her kid. The midday light through a royal window eliminated the final false shadows. George thought, but wasn't as furious. Kate grabbed his shoulder. Her eyes were filled with motherly tenderness and kingly responsibility. Her firm voice assured him that the lesson he learned was worth more than the stolen things. She said calmly but powerfully, "A monarch's actual strength doesn't come from a dazzling crown or the throne. Honesty matters most. Despite the difficulty, speak up, act aggressively, and confront wrongdoing. George, you were powerful today. More than words, you make me proud." George couldn't quit thinking about her words. The security guards and family members have a moral obligation to safeguard the palace. The castle eventually calmed. The rare gems were cleaned and tested before returning to the museum. They shone like emblems of a hard-won truth. Faith would always find the light even when it was hidden. A young prince bravely salvaged a treasure and began the long, arduous route to the throne. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.